The RPG series Daikaijuu Monogatari, that had a few entries on Famicom and Super Famicom, had a couple of different spin-offs on Nintendo's handhelds too. We've looked at one already, the dungeon-crawling Poyon no Dungeon Room, which saw you control one of the more famous side characters on his underground quest. However, that early 1999 Game Boy Color game wasn't the first spin-off of this series. That honour goes to the original Game Boy title The Miracle of the Zone, of which this entry is a direct sequel. It's an unusual case really, where a tangential series became much more popular than the mainline games it was based off. MOZ's success is most likely down to its unique and interesting gameplay, which is rather different to its genre contemporaries. This is a trading card game featuring various characters from the series. If you had your own look at Poyon no Dungeon Room after my review the other month, you'll no doubt recognize some of them. Now look, it's not the simplest of games to understand. Trading card games rarely are. I struggle enough to get into them sometimes, even if they're in English. This one is very text heavy with a lot of options. So before I try to ham-fist my shamefully Japanese deficient way through the game, I just want to give a colossal shout out to GameFAQs contributor Terratrus, who has painstakingly written a walkthrough guide in detail I could only dream of being able to do, and it's literally the only reason I'm able to not skip this game in the chronology, which I hate doing. I will be doing my best to explain stuff here, but it won't be a deep dive, nor a particularly long one, and hey, I'm throwing this one open to the floor, folks. Beholden to literally any knowledge you guys want to share with the friendos, leave it in the comments please. If you're really keen on learning this game, it might even just be worth reading that FAQ. There's a link in the description for you anyway. In that Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Pokemon TCG style, there's a degree of RPG to the deal, in that you'll be travelling around the in-game world, chatting to NPCs, battling various opponents, some tougher than others, and earning new cards by winning the battles, which you can then build your deck with. That's not to say that the mechanics of the game are like those two aforementioned. It's a different set of rules, obviously. However, you'll probably feel at home with the game's progression. Essentially, you're a monster summoner dueling against another one. Your monsters don't battle with each other directly. Rather, it's a kind of judging contest where you can summon up to 3 characters, put whatever utilities or spells on them, then the umpires or whatever award points to whomever's roster is more impressive. You see what I mean? I'd never have worked that out on my own. There are certain spells or abilities you can inflict upon the opponent to restrict what cards they can draw. It seems to be that more powerful squads of monsters are more favoured by the judges than less imposing ones, but what impresses them even more than that is being able to curate specific hands that satisfy a particular rule. As Terratrus puts it, kind of like poker, but with dragons. That's pretty badass, no? As for the monsters themselves, there's not a ton to tell about them. They all have a typing, such as water, fire, nature, or whatever. However, so do the summoners, the players in this card game. Most summoners can only summon monsters of certain elements. You'll pick your themed deck right at the start of the game, and this dictates to a certain extent the kinds of monsters you're able to call forth. In fact, if you manage to draw cards that complement your own abilities, they'll get buffs and stuff, which can really push your team over the edge. It also matters where on the board you play the cards. That's the zone in the Miracle of the Zone, I guess. These zones have their own built-in buffs for particular elements. Each monster card has a power rating, which is how much it'll contribute to your score when you summon it, and what's written in Japanese is whatever effect the monster inflicts upon the opponent when in play. If you're a patron or channel member, you might have watched my review of the Neo Geo Pocket game SNK vs Capcom Card Battlers, which has a very similar mechanic. Seriously though, go read that FAQ I mentioned. It explains all of this way better than I ever could. I just wanted to show off a little bit of the game because by all accounts it was hugely popular in Japan. Like I say, more so than the actual RPG series it was based off of. And yeah, the presentation is really great. Awesome artwork for the cards, the other graphics are a delight, and the game has a brilliant soundtrack. I hate to skip games as it goes against the spirit of the whole chronology and completeness thing I'm so mawkishly obsessed with. If you're more competent than I am, please do try this game out, as well as its original Game Boy predecessor, and let me know how you get on. It looks brilliant, but I'm too goddamn dumb to get the most out of it.